How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for being here with us in the We the People podcast. On today's episode, I have the honor of interviewing Gary Cucchi. Gary is the owner of this episode's sponsor, FEI and GAC Insurance Solutions and Wealth Management. He is a Christian man with amazing life experiences that we can all learn from. And I really enjoyed our conversation, and I know you will too. This episode, like I said, is sponsored by his company, as well as Rojas Real Estate Services. If you guys need anything real estate related, you know who to call. All this information will be in the description below. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe so that this channel can grow. I really do appreciate that. Let's get right into the episode. How's it going, everybody? This is We the People. Let's talk. That's a nice watch.
Oh, thanks,
I like
man.
that.
Yeah, I like the band.
Yeah, it's very, very shiny and attractive.
Yeah, Cindy got this for me for my 40th.
Yeah, that's not the one you want to walk around the Cuban streets with, right? Gary, so tell me, man, how you doing? Well, first off, thank you for last night. That was so much fun.
Oh, man, I had a great time.
I will say the last 3 times I've been to the Lightning game, we lose in overtime. And it's really upsetting. Now I'm feeling like, man, I'm going to go again and we're going to lose in overtime.
Man, that's hilarious.
But good game and good time with the
fun.
Rock Brothers, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was great. A great time. Great for the wives to meet and really just kind of get to hang out and get to know each other and everything too. So it was a great time.
Yeah, it was. It sure was. Exceptional human being. I had a conversation with you recently. We met through the Rock Brothers.
Yeah.
You're part of this community that keeps growing with the Rise Up Kings. I've told a lot of people about Rise Up Kings, but nobody can get it unless they go, right?
You can't. Right. I mean, honestly, when you try to tell somebody, it doesn't do it justice.
Right.
They kind of think you're either crazy that you put yourself through the torture.
My sister thought it was a cult.
Yeah, cult 100. My wife thought the same thing. She's like what's this thing?
Yeah, man. So tell me about why did you go to Rise Up Kings?
Well, honestly, I'd felt this gap in my life. I had a couple of close friends. I actually had 2 close friends that died. One was a professional boxer, a guy I used to go run hard with and work out with and stuff, and kind of died in a tragic accident. And then I had a real close brother from church that father of 6 that I used to go hunting with and stuff. I'm talking about like a man's man. Like he used to play D1 college football, and his hands were so big.
Yeah.
Like he made you feel tiny, like when he shook your hands. But it's the type of guy you wanted to go to war with.
Yeah.
And he passed away in a tragic diving accident. And then there was 2 other guys that were there as part of this core group of just men. We were all just running in the same direction for Christ and doing manly things, and those 2 guys, both due to business, moved away. And all of a sudden it was like, man, I had these guys I've been running with for a long time, and they kind of got what you were doing in business, but they got the faith, the family part, and they were all of a sudden gone. I just felt this void, and also felt like, man, I'm too old to start over. It'd been like me imagining dating and something again. I just didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to go hang out at the bars and stuff like that. And I just wasn't one of these guys that, oh, you like football, I like football, let's be best friends. I don't have time for shallow relationships.
Yeah.
And I found Rise Up King, which is so funny, on Instagram. And I just had been searching, and it popped up on Instagram, and I signed up for it. I didn't even tell my wife. I just signed up for it, and I said, hey, I'm going to this men's retreat. She's like, oh, okay, And I go to, she had no idea I found it on Instagram. I mean, if I told her I found this thing on Instagram, she probably would have said, babe, you didn't know people that went to this?
Right,
you just went? You didn't know? They could have kidnapped you, right? And next thing you're in the Middle East fighting or something, who knows, right? So, but I really wanted to see if there's some other guys out there that business-minded, but like-minded with their faith, and want to get closer with their family, and man, that's what I found, and it was life changing. My wife now went through the women's ministry, and it's awesome. It's been better for our relationship personally. It's been better for our kids. Even just being able to communicate with our kids better has been obviously life changing. And actually, our oldest son, who's in baseball, I told you, playing college baseball, he went to the Awakening We gave it to him as a graduation gift. And he was even a little hesitant to go.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, what is this thing? And I was there for his graduation, and he's literally eyes tearing up and was so thankful that he went. It was, again, life-changing for him. Now he's running with it on a weekly basis on his calls and everything while he's playing baseball and stuff too. So trying to make it generational.
Yeah, and for the people that don't know what we're talking about, I mean, if you're a gentleman or a wife, just search it up. Rise Up Kings, you can find them on Instagram. You can find them everywhere. You could Google them. I know Carlos yesterday was talking about, I found that in Googling, men's retreat and stuff like that. And it's a transformation. It's what it is. And I believe is the type of transformation that men need in this country, at least, to truly, find what it is that we should be doing in terms of our purpose in life, or just, if you drift, which seems to happen to a lot of us. I think that it's just a great place to find to get back in line into the things that truly matter, specifically faith, family, fitness, and finances, which is the 4 pillars. And yeah, man, it's a way to just activate completely. And the number one thing that I like about it is exactly this. I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation right now, it has changed the way that I meet other people. So, for example, before rock, I would literally just prejudge people a little bit. And if there's no respect area for me in your life, or if there's anything that you do that I'm like, you know what, it's not my guy, my type of person, I would automatically just, I would have a conversation with you, but I would shut you down in my mind in terms of having a relationship with you, or even being real with you in terms of what you need to maybe hear in your life. And rock teaches you not to do that. Rock teaches you to be realistic with the men around you, even the men that you may not know that much. You don't want to just all of a sudden, criticize somebody if you don't need to be in that, to be doing that. But in terms of just understanding that we're all human beings, we're men that make mistakes. We're animals sometimes in the way that we think, and it's okay. And the way that, so many men opened up about their lives.
Absolutely.
And, I was telling you guys yesterday, the ones that at the beginning, I'm like, whatever, like these people, may not even make it or whatever. And then all of a sudden, when there were some of the most impressive situations that I witnessed, and the most respect, that I gave to those people. I think that value right there, coming out of rock, going through the mastermind, and still being in connection with so many brothers, and then meeting new brothers like yourself and people around me that have gone there. It's like, just by meeting you, I already know, if you went through rock, there's something there. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm right there with you. And, something else, I didn't really notice this when I went through it the first time, but in September I went back and volunteered, which was great.
Yeah.
I honestly felt like going on a missions trip, because you saw lives transformed.
Yeah.
But what's cool is we saw lives transformed here by what I believe is men. First off, we need more men stepping up and to be manly men, to be the fathers and the husbands that they were called to be.
Absolutely.
Need business owners to take good care of their employees. And Ruck instills all this thing. But what's so cool I noticed when I went back was everyone's the same there in the beginning. Everyone shows up the same. Again, I won't go into detail because I don't want to give it away, but it doesn't matter if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or you're the one-man operation, you're all the same there. Yeah. Which is amazing. You got to put your ego aside.
That's right.
And
they teach you to do that right away.
They teach you to put your ego aside, right?
Yeah. Which a lot of businessmen need.
100%. We do, right? We're A-type, go, and you sometimes want to I run this business or whatever, and that doesn't really matter because if you're doing all those things but you're failing at all the other parts in life, then man, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Or it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you're failing at your marriage and you're failing your kids, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah. That was one of my biggest realizations. And when I first got into real estate, I had just gone through certain situations in my life where I did a career switch from the music to real estate. And as soon as I started making, I think I was making somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000 a month. After my 3 months of a realtor, I'm like, man, I've never made money like this. This is good. But I was losing so much time and valuable, time with my family that eventually caught up to me. Like after a year of doing that, it caught up to me real quick. I started feeling all sorts of loneliness and I had all the wrong expectations from my wife, just a bunch of stuff. Look, man, I thought that I was a really good husband, a really good human being, and I was. I don't think I was that broken or I don't want to say broken. I don't think I was that bad. Let me just say that.
Right.
But there are so many values that I took
Absolutely.
from Rock. There are so many things that just bringing back to my home and the father that I can be for my son to make sure that, and my daughter to make sure that they make better life decisions growing up. It's important. Being a father is the one job that no matter whether you're a doctor or a billionaire or if you don't have a dollar, you can be a good father.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
Yes.
it's not about how much money you
No.
have. And it's funny because this country, or I would say society everywhere, teaches you need to be well off. You need to have all this money to have children. When in reality, I mean, by God, by design, we're created to create life, regardless of our situation. And if we choose to just be there and take care of that life, especially if we can have a bond between, wife and husband, and no matter what happens, no matter what the circumstances is, we stay together and we take care of this, creature that we're bringing into this world. Like the possibilities are endless with that, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, my parents came from Cuba with nothing. So
Right.
I just had this tragic hurricane destroy my house.
Oh man, I know.
And there are so
Horrible.
many things that I can, focus on. The fact that, my daughter came out of a situation that, I could have lost her and we're still here. That we came from Cuba with nothing. And we've made so much progress. My mother has her own house. I have my house. My brother has his own house. Like, we have made progress in this country. So I can't let this moment, as hard as it is, affect me in a way where I'm just gonna be depressed and all of a sudden shut down. We gotta
Right.
step up, and
Absolutely.
it's hard. And I like to get into that conversation with
Yeah.
you because you're in the insurance industry,
Yeah.
and just I'm gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
I've always hated insurances. I've hated insurance so much.
Don't worry, we do too. Especially in
It's
Florida.
like-
I mean, it's rough, right?
Man,
It's rough.
even as a real estate agent, I
Oh.
still have some hate for insurance companies, just from the point of view of overinsured, which is something
Yeah.
that you mentioned the other day. But going through a situation like this, I'm definitely kicking myself in the head because I didn't have any insurance in my house. My house just got flooded 4 feet. I got no insurance at all. My only help is gonna be FEMA, my church, my family, my friends, and luckily I have a lot of people around me that I've served, I guess, well, and even some that I've never even met that are stepping up to the plate and helping me, and it really is humbling for me and my family. We got a camper up front of the house right now. We're staying in my mother-in-law's. My clothes are scattered everywhere. I got my sandals on because I can't
You
even find
don't
shoes
know where your
sometimes.
shoes are.
Whatever.
You're
Last
right.
night to the game, we were late
Yeah.
because we were trying to look for the jerseys, whatever. It's crazy, but we are a tight-knit family, and that for sure, no matter what the circumstances, is what matters, right? But in terms of insurance, I'm definitely kicking myself right now. My insurance would have been somewhere around $6,000 a year for my
Right.
house, and I just felt like, you know what? I'll save $6,000 a year, and when this happens, I'll go through it. And come to find out, the real estate market started crashing this last 7 to 8 months. I started losing a lot of money, and then on top of that, here comes the hurricane.
Yeah.
Boom. So yeah, it's hard.
It is hard. It is hard.
But I know I made a mistake by not being insured properly.
And you're not the only one. I mean, listen,
Right.
I mean, I lots of stories. Like, we've been doing this for 22 years. I
Right.
started the business from scratch, and really it was started on a foundation of, I felt a lot of people in the state of Florida, really around the country,
Yeah.
really didn't know much about the insurance that they're buying. So, we decided to do something a little bit different, is that we didn't want someone to just buy insurance. We wanted to kind of educate them on the insurance that they're buying. So if you better understood what the reason to have it and have the right amount, you're more likely than maybe keep it
Yeah.
when things get tough, because you realize, oh, wait, Gary or his team, that's why we need to keep this because of this. But before I get into that, something I want to say is, the tragedy, and obviously it's horrible what you're going through, and so many other people, and you see what's going on in North Carolina and Tennessee and some other areas. It's sad.
Yeah.
The one thing that I get out of it, though, that is a positive, is to see the humanity in this country still, and how people will still come together. Doesn't matter. They put all their political views and everything aside, and they come together to help.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. I love to see the outpour of people that want to help their fellow Americans in need. that's a great thing about this country. Something I love. I love America. I love this country. And I just, as bad as it is, it's amazing to see the church doing what the church should do, is be out there in the community and helping people, and other just people just that you've never met before. They're now willing to come in and help. So I just had to say that, because that is the one thing I always take away from these horrible situations. I'm a total glass half full type guy, and I always see that and say, man, you know what? As horrible as this is, at least it shows there's hope for our future.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome, and hope for the next generation if we can just keep that mindset. So, but I touch back on what you said, about insurance companies. And look, we deal with a lot of them. We deal with probably 60 different insurance companies that do business in the state of Florida. And it's tough, right? They're tough. One thing I always got to remind people is, first off, is insurance companies are not nonprofits. They are in the business to make money.
Absolutely.
Right? They have to make money. If they don't make money, if they don't turn a profit, they go out of business. And we've dealt with that a lot in the state of Florida, is companies will come and go because they undercut the market, and then a storm happens, and next thing they go out of business and they can't pay all of their claims. Right. And the state fund has to then come in and pick the claims up, which is a nightmare. So,
what kind of nightmare? Like something that takes very long?
It just extends. Ultimately, if that happens, you're going to be made whole, but it can definitely prolong the process. No one goes through a major claim and it's like, wow, like this was just so smooth. There was no hiccups. They just took care of everything in days. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
Think about it. No insurance company can employ enough people to go and handle a situation like this, that the whole Gulf Coast of Florida, let alone the other states, but that have the manpower to go out there. If they had to employ all of them, our premiums would be even higher, because they'd have all the times we don't have storms and disasters. So lots of times that stuff is contracted out, right? Which is a good thing in a lot of ways, because they don't work for the insurance company itself. So it's a very positive thing in a lot of ways. But you have to, when you have these situations and you do have insurance, you have to be, first off, I would say you got to have a good local agent that you're working with who is going to talk to you and communicate with you through these things. Yeah. Our office stayed open through the storm. We stayed open all day Thursday, all day Friday. We're answering phones and text messages throughout the storm, because you know what? We had clients calling us that are like, our home is flooding right now and we're in it. Wow. What should we do? And we were able to calm them down a little bit and tell them, hey, listen, we'll already start the claims process for you right now. Let's go ahead and get this going for you, so that's one piece that you have to worry about. Just take care of your family right now. Right. Take care of your family. Don't worry about it, because it's all stuff. Everything in your home is stuff. Yeah. We just want you to be safe. But even with that, it's not a fast process in most cases, right? I mean, insurance companies are going to come out, they'll stroke some checks, right, for living expenses and things of that nature. But we tell people, you're going to be patient. There's thousands and thousands of people that they got to go out and see their properties. Sometimes they maybe don't even go see a property, because maybe it's just a total loss, and that's sometimes one of the easiest claims, right? Yeah. Your house burnt down or your house was wiped away. There's not much for them to have to come look at. It's now just, let's look at the policy, the limits, and start stroking checks at that point. But when it's not, and there's just damage, they now have to start assessing the damage. And I tell people all the time, the biggest thing you can do, and again, you should do these things before the storm, is you should have documentation of what is in your house. You can do this nowadays. We all have iPhones, right? Everyone has an iPhone or Google Pixel or whatever it is. You should walk around in every room of your house and have video of all of your content. It's super easy to do now, and just save it on the cloud somewhere. That'll make it so easy if you did have a major loss or lost everything, to be able to, oh yeah, I forgot we had that picture there. Oh, we had this. That's so helpful to the insurance companies. That will make it much faster process than you have to sit there and write out every little thing and try to remember everything that you had in the house. Right.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So what's next for people that are going through this process? Like, so first off, all right, so you get hit by the storm, you already started the claim. What is next in terms of the wait? When do you get your money? I know every case is different, obviously.
Of course.
But what is the process for you to get what you need from the insurance company?
Yeah, so typically how it works is you file the claim, whether it's over the phone or online. Then you're going to wait for an adjuster to reach out to you. Sometimes it'll be an internal adjuster will start the process. They'll follow up with you for more information. Then they're going to typically tell you either a field adjuster will be contacting you, or sometimes they might even schedule for the field adjuster to come out. That's from that point, you're in limbo. You're waiting. Now, if they're going to ask you typically during that process, do you have any immediate needs, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, we can't live in our house and we're staying at the Holiday Inn Express. They will start to distribute checks to help you cover some of those immediate costs, okay? But we tell people, make sure anything that you're spending out of pocket, you save receipts.
Yeah.
You know, or put it on your credit card. You can go through and itemize it at that point. They will reimburse you up to the limits of your policy. So that's critical. So we tell people, now you got to wait for the adjuster to typically come out to the house. They're going to go ahead and make an assessment of the damages. And typically from there, they're going to come up with an estimate of what it's going to be. Now, if you have water damage, well, you need to protect your home from further damage.
Right.
So you need to get rid of the wet content.
Right.
You need to do whatever you can to prevent the spread of mold. You can't just, well, the adjuster's not going to be here for 2 weeks and let the house sit there.
Right.
They're not going to then cover the future damage that because you didn't prevent it. You have to take preventative measures if it's safe to do so to prevent further damage. Now,
so that's really important. So
Yeah.
so it's important if you go through the storm, take the preventative damage that you need to do in order. So I cut my drywall right away. I'm not thinking about insurance, but I cut my drywall right away. If I have insurance, I need to do the same. But first, document the whole thing. Make sure that you do a before type video or pictures so that everything's documented. Then go ahead and start cutting the drywall to make sure that the house can breathe and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yes. You take your before. They want to see where the water line was at. Right. You're going to cut above the water line. Get rid of it all.
So don't leave your house the way it is, so that the insurance can take a look at it, because there's going to be further damage, and they won't cover that.
They won't. They're not going to cover that.
Okay.
And for good reason, right?
Right.
I mean, it is our responsibility to prevent further damage. Whether you have a leak in your roof. You cannot just leave it there. You have to you got to put a tarp on it or whatever it is, if it's safe to do so, to prevent any further damage. So I would say, the example, if you had a pipe leaking, well, you would turn the water off, right? You wouldn't just let the pipe keep leaking. You have to stop and prevent further damage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Why did you get into insurance?
Yeah.
Why insurance? What made you, open up an insurance business?
Well, so I graduated from the University of South Florida, my wife and I both, and I was a teacher. I went into teaching. I got my degree in education, the College of Education at USF. And I really was only getting into teaching, just to be honest, because I love baseball, as we've talked about, and I was going to be a baseball coach.
Oh, I'll ask you about coaching and everything. I'm going there soon.
Yeah. So that was really it, because I was young. I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do yet in life, but I know I love baseball. So and I do like teaching. I love being in front of a classroom and stuff. And so I'm like, let's go do this. So I started working at, right out of college. I got a job at Sickles High School teaching 12th grade honors economics, which is kind of funny because I was like 23 years old. I was teaching 17 and 18-year-olds.
Wow.
It was kind of wild, but I loved teaching economics. I loved teaching about business. And I always had this kind of entrepreneurial mindset, but I didn't have the guts to maybe take a leap of faith and go do something on my own yet. We just gotten married and we're kind of figuring that all out, right?
Yeah.
So after a couple of years of teaching, I realized that, I need to go do something else. I really want to take a leap of faith. And my wife, we just celebrated 25 years of marriage. We've been together for, I think, 31 years. She's like, do it. I support you, do it. And she actually took on a second job as a waitress at Macaroni Grill, and teaching, just to support me in starting the business. And our goal from the beginning was, like I said earlier, was to be a little different and educate people about their insurance. So, and that's what I like doing, because I like teaching people. I love talking to people, and I didn't want to just say, hey, you have Geico, and these are your coverages, and we'll just match the same coverage. I wanted to be like, hey, listen, you have this company, but you have too much insurance or you have not enough insurance. This is what you need because we asked you some questions and found out a little bit more about you to then give you the right amount of insurance. Well, guess what? If you end up not going with us because you end up being able to go back to wherever you were at and raise your limits and then that's great. Yeah. I just wanted people to have the right coverage. If it ended up being with us, awesome. At least they knew they were going to get someone who was going to be honest with them and that was going to be looking out for them as their life changed. And that's really what happened is we started to get a lot of clients, and as their life changed, we were updating their insurance to keep up with their life. And they knew that they had an agency that we believed was a little bit different and was building a little bit deeper relationships with the clients to make sure that they were protected in all phases of their life and making sure they're not overinsured, right? Like, I mean, no one wants to pay, for insurance that they don't need, right? So like, hey, we can talk through those things and say, hey, you need this, you don't need this.
So this is your team right now? This is your current team, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So you started by yourself or?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just me, which is wild. And then, Janine, who's still with me, she's been with me for, going on 20 years. She is to the far, sitting down to the far right-hand side of as we look at it there. The blonde hair. Actually, she's sitting next to my daughter, who is now works with us as well. So awesome. my oldest daughter, she's one of my two twins. But she works with us too. But yeah, so Janine was one of the first, and she's been with me again close to 20 years. We've been open 22 years.
That's amazing.
The cool thing is most of my team there have been with me over 10 years. So we have several close to 15 years as well too. So it's pretty exciting. It's really like a family. They really build a relationship with the clients, relationship with each other. And we're a pretty close-knit group. And I love it that they really care. I honestly can't express it any other way except how much they care. Even things that they do, my staff, I think they're amazing. Even in their time that they're not working, the way they give back to the community, they're all involved in things, whether it's their church or other nonprofits of giving back to the community, which is just such a blessing that I get to work with them. You know, I don't look at it like they work for me. I look at it like we work together.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Gary, there's definitely something special about you, man. Let me tell you, so when we first got in the phone, you give me a feeling of, you don't just want my money. You truly want to help.
Oh, yeah.
The financial big picture here. Explain this to me. I'm a little bit, I'm not confused, but it's a lot here on this screen. Can you explain what you tell the clients when it comes to this?
Yeah. So, again, what's a little different about us is we have different divisions. Right. So, and each division specializes in different things. I can't be a jack of all trades, right? So we have people that are subject matter experts in different parts, whether it's insurance or retirement planning, and we bring those in to meet with clients, regardless if they want to go with us or not. But we will bring those people in to educate a client on that aspect of what they need. Again, I think something that's very unique, and your clients would attest to this, is literally zero pressure ever to do something. We have lots of clients that come in and we'll educate them on Medicare or on something along those lines. Doesn't mean they have to do any of that stuff with us. I mean, a lot of people do if they feel comfortable with us, but we always feel like we're not right for everybody. Right? So this here talks about the different stages and different parts of your life that we can help you with. From financial planning, there's estate planning, insurance. People don't realize, but insurance, your limits on your insurance should be part of your financial planning.
Yeah.
So our financial planning division, who are all fiduciaries, they bring on the insurance team to review all of our financial planning clients' insurance documents. And again, it's one of those things, hey, listen, you're with USAA. Okay, USAA is a great company. We're not saying you have to leave USAA, but we want to make sure that policy you have, say, with USAA, is the limits that you need based on the assets that you have to protect you. Oh, you own a rental property? Oh, let's make sure that your assets, that your liability limits are proper to protect that rental property from a lawsuit. So by doing that, we think we better position our clients to be protected if something ever does happen.
Yeah.
Last thing I ever want is a call saying, man, Gary, like, we trusted you with all of this, and you never talked to us about this, and now we're being sued, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why that started, and I've got really great people that run each of those divisions that will come in and assist when needed.
Got it. By the way, guys, I will post all of this information as well as those PDFs on the description of this video. So if you need to access them, or if you want to know where their office locations are or anything like that, I will post that on the description. As you can see, they have 2 office locations here in Tampa. Big team. So, all right. Great stuff, Gary. And I can tell, like I said earlier, I could tell you're a very special human being by the conversation that we had before I invited you here. What do I mean by that? Gary, your Christian faith, the way that you came about that, I'd love to get into that. But one thing that really impacted me when I was talking to you was the fact that you have a coaching career. So for me, the greatest gift that I've gotten, the greatest honor that I've gotten so far is coaching these kids. I started coaching since my son was 4 in T-ball. And, ever since I started that, there's just something clicked right away where I just knew I need to do that the rest of my life. Like, at least for my son. But as I'm coaching my son, then I start seeing other kids that benefit from just good life lessons.
Absolutely.
Certain things. I mean, there are so many kids out there that don't have a father figure in their life. And yeah, I've seen some single moms that are amazing human beings that are bringing their kids to sports and stuff like that, and just the impact that sports can have on a kid, right? So as I'm doing this, I'm learning. It's my first time doing this, and every year it gets more complicated because they get smarter.
Oh yeah, they do.
They have more questions. Sometimes they want to do something different, which is completely okay, and how to handle those type of battles. And I think about that because my son absolutely loves baseball and soccer and MMA and everything that he's doing. But I think about the moment where he might be like, hey, Dad, I don't want to do baseball no more. And in a lot of ways, it's going to be a heartbreak for me.
That would be heartbreaking, yeah.
But I got to respect that decision.
100% you do.
Did you ever have your kids say anything like that?
Well, not my boys, but Lila was playing volleyball, and then she just one day said, I don't want to, I love volleyball, I just don't want to do a competitive. I don't want to do all the travel and stuff. I don't see going and playing in college.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun with it.
Right.
And really respected that because you know what, it's great and you can play volleyball hopefully the rest of your life, but she realized, gosh, there's going to be a lot of weekends and a lot of money spent by the family just to go do something that you don't see a future in, and I had to respect that she did that. And our rule has always been, we love sports, and but our rule has always been in high school, you either need to be playing a sport or you got to get a job, or at least a part-time job. You got to do something. You can't just sit there on an iPhone all day long and search social media, right?
Yeah.
We got to do something. And so that's when she actually started working for us, which has been great. It's been great. I obviously love all 5 of my kids. Got a great relationship with them all. It's great that she's the first one that's come to the office and started working. Her twin sister, Maddie, will start working here probably pretty soon. She's in the theater. That's her thing. That's her sport, right? So she's in the theater and everything, and once that slows down, if it does, then she'll come work. But that's her thing right now in school. But I love coaching.
Yeah,
I said I was coaching before I had kids. I've been coaching 25 years.
So tell us about that, if you don't mind, just from beginning to end. Why did you decide to coach, and your whole coaching career and some of the things that you did that I've already heard, but I would love the audience to get to understand that.
Well, I mean, studies will tell you. I mean, coaches are typically one of the most impactful person in a athlete's life, whether it's males or female sports, male or female coach. That coach tends to can be a very positive influence on that athlete's life, and I really wanted to do that. I wanted to be a positive role model for the next generation. So even when I was finishing up college, a friend of mine and I decided we're going to start coaching a local Little League team, actually in Temple Terrace.
Nice.
And we decided that the league
At
thought we were nuts.
such a young age,
Yeah, I just wanted to give back. Like we loved baseball, both of us, and we were good at it. We had a lot of good years of playing, and we said we want to teach these kids. We want to teach them the right way. We also want to teach them that it's not just about winning. You know, I mean, these teams, there's a lot of teams out there that all they care about is the trophies, the rings, all those things. And ultimately, that's not what it's about. If that kid is stuck in right field the whole time, he's probably not going to like the game too much down the road. So we did things a little bit differently. We taught kids to play different positions. We taught them the actual game of baseball because, as you know as well as I do, if you understand the game of baseball, it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful game.
Every time somebody tells me, "Oh, I hate baseball," they're just, it's so boring. I'm like, I can tell that you're not watching the pitcher and the catcher and the communication and what's going on on the field, the signs. There's so much going on in the baseball field.
There's so much.
One time,
and that's it. But once you understand it, it's a completely different game. And you know, I one of my best friends hated baseball, and then all of a sudden, he got to start to watch it, and I started teaching him about the game. Now he loves it. It's his favorite sport to watch, which is hilarious. Yeah. He's like, wow, I wish I had played it growing up now because I understand the game so much more. So anyway, I start coaching there, and I at that time I'm also thinking, hey, I'm going to become a teacher, and I'm going to coach. So this would be a great start to make sure I really do like it out there. That's not just an idea, that I'm actually getting some experience and know that I can communicate with the kids.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I honestly, I loved it from the beginning. I loved, even when I got to Sickles and was helping coach there.
How did you land that job?
Man, so lucky. My final internship at college, I just happened to get put at Sickles. Sickles had just opened. I mean, it's a great school. I was so lucky to land there. I mean, again, it was one of those schools, especially. There was like no discipline problems. I mean, it was pretty cake. And I just approached the head baseball coach, Bob Pagano at the time, and I was just like, hey, you know, I'd like to help out, right? I'm just give me a job. I don't care. Give me a rake. Let me rake the field. Like, I want to help. And he did. He let me help, and it was great. And I was still coaching another team, outside of school at the time and everything. And I did it, helped the whole time I was there. So then when I stopped teaching and started my business, I still wanted to coach, right? I didn't want to lose that piece of it. But I ended up taking 2 years off from coaching kids, but at the same time I was still playing men's softball. But I did something different. My team built this great unity. Like, I had these guys, and like I fed into the guys. Like, I fed into them more than just winning softball games. I fed into them in like life. When they were going through a problem, they knew I was a guy that they could talk to. And we created some great memories. And so it was nice. It kind of filled a little bit of a void for me and built some good fellowship with them. And, I mean, a joke, because they kind of referred to me as coach. I was kind of the coach. And it was a lot of fun. And then I got right back in to coaching. And then, of course, we had kids, and I started coaching them from little all the way up to my oldest going off and playing, in college now. And I coached a couple years in there at Bishop McLaughlin High School as well too. Honestly, I've loved every minute of it. I love being able to give the feedback into these kids. These kids, a lot of them, you see them, especially when they're younger, they think their self-worth in baseball comes on their performance between the lines.
Yeah. And
they have a bad game. And they think that maybe they're no good at it, or they're worried that their parents are going to be upset at them because they didn't play well. And I felt as my job is to spin that script and point out that, you know what, you're not always going to have a good game. This is the hardest game there is, right? It's the only everyone knows, right? It's the only sport where you can fail 70% of the time and you're in the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. Well, having to remind them of that, and I always just bringing up things. Even now, as I coach a kid last weekend after the game, and we're talking all through all the good stuff. And I could tell he was hurting. And he says, Coach, I went 0 for 3 today. And I said, that's fine. I'm like, no big deal. I said, 0 for 3. I said, Aaron Judge went 0 for 4 last night with 3 punch-outs. I'm like, it happens. And he's one of the greatest baseball players in the game. I said, it happens. It's part of the game. If you're going to play this game, you're going to fail a lot. And as you move up and as you progress, as you get older, you're going to fail more and more.
Yeah.
So that was something I really wanted to teach them from a young age, but I also wanted to teach them from a young age that's, again, not all about winning. Because if they don't know how to lose, they're going to come into a big problem later on when they play on a team that maybe is not as good. They're not going to know how to handle losing gracefully. So, man, I tell you, I just like you said, I think I'll coach hopefully the rest of my life, Lord willing. Even when my youngest now is done. Again, we have a gap. Our oldest is 18, the youngest is 8. So and they're my bookends. I play baseball. So the joke always is, man, I got him out of the house playing. Now I got another 10 years left of coaching just with him. And again, I love every minute of it. I love getting home and getting the ball out and the gloves and playing catch and hitting, and even obviously getting the other kids outside, just getting them outside off that TV, off their phones and stuff like that. So
yeah. What is like one of the most impactful stories that you could tell me about your coaching career?
Oh, good question. Most impactful stories. Let me think about that.
At least one.
Yeah. So, gosh. Well, yeah. Let me think here for a second. Most impactful story during my coaching career. As far as like a player, I would say like I've had some players make some boneheaded decisions, personal decisions. So I would say like off the field. Let's talk about an off the field impact. Maybe was it maybe a player making some bad choices, right? Okay. Away from baseball, where a lot of coaches maybe would have kicked him off the team, right? But I knew there was something deeper. That this kid is too good of a kid to be starting to get into trouble, right? And there's a void missing somewhere. So I felt that I needed to get to the root of what was going on, and that he needed the worst thing that could happen in this kid's life was kick him out of baseball. Right. He needed baseball more now than ever, and he needed the coaches more now than ever. So really digging down to what was the root of why he was straying off and who he was hanging out with, and getting him back into baseball was really impactful. I mean, it creates a great relationship. I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with the kids that have graduated now. Many of them are playing college baseball now, which is really cool to get to. Like, this is an exciting year for me because the group, a lot of them that I coached from when they were pretty young, they're all freshmen in college and playing at some pretty big schools this year.
That's amazing.
And it's, again, like, it has nothing to do with my coaching. Like, I'm not, in no disclaimer, I am not,
the reason why.
The reason why. They're the reason why.
Right.
Only thing I did was just continue to motivate them, and and they had a coach that believed in them. That was it. And again, I was one of several coaches that believed in them. They had a strong supporting cast of family that also believed in them and invested a lot of money and time and resources to get them where they're at. I'm just a tiny little piece in that puzzle, but I get real excited that thanks to technology, I get to watch their games. As they're all over the country, get to watch them play this year, streaming on ESPN Plus and things like that. I mean, so exciting.
That's so
and
cool,
really,
man.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a pretty cool, and I mean, I can share just another, like just as a team, I'll say. So, like, we created a team here locally that was made up of kids of just 4 local high schools. And 4 public high schools, and then we had my son was homeschooled as well as part of that group, and we competed, against teams that were made up of kids like from all over the country, like superstar type teams.
Wow. Okay.
And like we beat a lot of those teams, and the difference was, I mean, if you looked on paper, we should have never been able to compete against them. And again, it wasn't even that we were better coaches than the other coaches. They were probably better coaches than us too. But our team learned how to play as a team.
Yeah.
And it was so cool going into some of these tournaments where, like, we were picked as the last team in the pool. Like, we weren't supposed to ever make it out of pool play. Like, we're the dead last, and this team's supposed to win the pool. And we go undefeated, beat everybody in the pool, and we're the ones moving on to the quarterfinals or semifinals and stuff like that, shocking everybody. And it's all because we had a group of kids that truly believed in what we were doing, and they knew how to then, at that point, to play unselfish.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about them. They knew how to be a right teammate and know that, hey, I need to lay a bunt down here. Or, hey, I need to do this. It's not about me. It's about the bigger picture, about putting somebody else first.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great, and again, baseball is so full of life lessons.
I know,
man. I think it really
there
is.
are so many different ways of winning in baseball.
man.
I mean, back then, I'm sure people used to think, oh, the Yankees are winning so much because they got all the big players or whatever. But in reality, I mean, if you look at everything that has happened since the year 2000 with Moneyball and all the different ways that you can win a baseball game. It doesn't matter. You could have the worst team in the league, and you can figure out how to win if you have a tight knit group that is trying their best out there.
Absolutely.
Obviously, having talent definitely helps.
Yeah.
But it's about putting that chemistry together.
Absolutely.
That bullpen that will shut it down. Like Kevin Cash having a bunch of different pitchers and throwing a whole almost a perfect game or a one hitter or something like that. That's impressive.
I mean, some of the stuff that Cash
taking Snell out of the World Series, that is not impressive.
No, no, definitely not. But overall though, his track record, which is so cool. Obviously, he's Gaither High School, here locally. Gaither High School coach who passed away a long time ago, Frank Permui. I knew Frank really, really well. He was a client of ours up to his passing. Field's named after him. A lot of my kids that I coached went to Gaither, and some of them are still at Gaither, some of the younger ones. But it's so cool seeing a guy like Cash and what the Rays have done, right, with, again, a fraction of payroll, and how, they never won it all, but they've been there consistently for many years. And and no offense, I mean, they're still professional baseball players, but to the majority of America, they couldn't name but one or two people on the Rays.
Yeah.
And yet they're winners. That's amazing. That's good coaching, and guys are buying into a system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Gary. So what about your mission trips?
Yeah.
You told me you've been on some mission trips.
Absolutely.
Some of them you took your team to.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been to Costa Rica 3 times. I've been to Dominican Republic on 3 different baseball missions trips. And then I've been to Cuba 3 times on mission trips. Every one of them completely different. The Costa Rica mission trips were my wife and some other couples were down there. We were doing a lot of evangelism and rebuilding some churches and some homes and stuff down there. Amazing. I mean, we went to the same places every year. You really became friends with the people down there. We were in small fishing villages down there and doing from like VBS days. And I mean, it was just amazing. And the friendship that you get with these other men and women that go on the trips with you was life-changing. And there's guys I was talking about in the beginning, right, that I was running with for a bunch of years. They were all part of that original mission trip groups. I mean, we were tight. We did everything together because we were all running in the same direction, business and family and faith. And it was amazing journey. I mean, it was, I say, a good 10-year run, and life-changing for me. I got much stronger in my faith during that time period. I also will go into the baseball. We'll go into baseball one. Really cool, an organization called SCORE International, and they have a ministry down in the Dominican Republic. If you know anything about Dominican Republic, kind of like Cuba, they play baseball. Yeah. If you watch Major League Baseball, there's a lot of players from the Dominican Republic, right? And they're very good. Yeah. I mean, they are very good. They're the exception to the rule of playing multiple sports, right? Yeah. They only really know baseball down there. They really don't play much of anything else. But you know what, though? As we talked about, they're athletic. They never lose their athleticism, which is what, in America, a reason for playing multiple sports, because it helps you keep athleticism. So I went twice down there with SCORE International, down there with a bunch of men and current pro and retired pro baseball players, and we'd run baseball clinics down there. It was awesome. For a guy who loves to coach, every day we coming out and doing a baseball clinic down there, like for 4 or 5 hours of the day. and you're breaking the kids up in infield, outfield, and pitchers and catchers, and working alongside some amazing coaches. Actually, University of Louisville baseball team, they go down there every single year. I think it's every other year, take that back, every other year on a missions trip. But their head coach goes every year down there on one of these instructional mission trips. Solid Christian man. Really cool. There's a lot of strong Christian men in coaching right now, which is a great sign. But down there and being able to dig in and love on these kids, and we bring equipment down there because you'd go down there, and again, we take this stuff for granted.
Yeah.
But these kids come down there. I mean, they're barefoot.
Yeah.
Right? They're playing baseball barefoot, or they're sharing a glove. 5 different kids are all sharing a glove.
Yeah.
I mean, every kid out at the ballpark in America most likely has multiple gloves. They got 2 or 3 bats sitting out of their $100 bat bag. They're $400 bats, and we don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
I mean, down there,
it's a stick in the bottle cap.
It is unbelievable. So I decided with my oldest son, Nicholas's team, when they were 12, we were going to bring them on a missions trip. We did a father-son missions trip to the Dominican Republic, and we were going to go down there, and we organized it where we could go down there and we play a doubleheader, and then we would do a missions project. So every day we did a doubleheader and a missions project. Based on the weather, sometimes it was a mission project, then a doubleheader, but regardless, it was baseball and missions every single day. We brought bags and bags and bags full of equipment that we got donated, and each day when we would play the team for the doubleheader, when we were done, we would present them with all the equipment, which was cleats for all the kids and gloves and bats and all these things. But the thing that my kids all noticed was instantly how much they loved the game. So I'll give you a quick story on this. We get to the first field, their first day down there, and the kids, first off, are the ones setting the field up, which in America, I mean, like typically there's coaches there raking, or you have grounds crew doing all. No, the kids are setting the field up, and the kids are chalking the field with their hands. They literally have chalk in their hands, and they're walking, laying chalk down to line the bases. Our kids are like blown away. Then the game starts, and you see kids that are in the dugout with no cleats on. And as they go in the field, or another kid, they taking their shoes off and giving it to the next kid. Again, all of our kids have brand new shoes and all their bats, and they got like one bat, over there. And our first game, again, the same field. They must have cows or something there, maybe when they don't play. And our center fielder at the time screams out, he's like, "Hey, coach," he's like, "there's a big pile out here." And one of my assistant coaches says to him, "Well, try not to dive into it." It just is what it is, right? What are you going to do, right? Like, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Like, we're not going to, sorry, guys, we're not going to play here, right? Yeah. It was awesome. I mean, the kids, and then every night we had the kids write in a journal of their experience for the day. And then we would do like a devotional, and they would share their experiences. And I'm talking about, this was moving. We did some amazing baseball trips with this group, brought them to Cooperstown, brought them to different places. And I've asked them, as they're now older, all going off, like I said, play college baseball, asked them all, what was your most memorable trip you did on all the time we were a team? Every one of them says, our baseball trip to the DR, time with our dads, one-on-one with our dads, and also just the impact that it had on their life. Because you go down there, as Americans, we go down on mission trips thinking, oh man, we're down here to, we're going to help them and fix them. But truthfully, a big part of a mission trip is what you take away.
Yeah.
You get something personally out of it. You come back a better person. It's not that we're better than them by any means. Right? They're not sad down there. They're not saying, "Oh, I wish I was in America." They love what they have down there. Those kids are all happy, and they don't have phones and stuff like that. They're outside playing, and they're happy, and they're having a lot of fun.
I don't want to say they don't wish they were in America, because a lot of them do wish.
Yeah, you know, you're correct.
But I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I grew up in communism. I grew up in Cuba, and unhappy is not something that I was.
Right.
Especially as a child. I mean, the culture of growing up in Cuba, the fact that we could go downstairs and play and,
Yeah.
not have a worry about anything, kidnapping or anything like that. It was very refreshing. I mean, we would
was.
play we would grab a rock and just start putting a thread around it. That would be our ball, and then a broomstick that we would take from some mom would be our bat. And sometimes we would play soccer, and the field had bones from a dead dog, and a friend would get caught in their feet because we're playing barefooted. Yeah, I mean, the amount of stories. I mean, we would get hurt, but it would also teach us so much humbleness and so
Absolutely.
many things. And then coming into this country and seeing the overflow of things, of the abilities that we have is overwhelming. It's you walk into a supermarket and you see apples
I know,
that you
right?
never see in Cuba, strawberries, all these different fruits that in Cuba we got really good fruit. Let me tell you, I'd rather have the Cuban fruits because of the flavor and the nature of it. But the
And none
fact
of the
that
chemicals.
right, but the fact that there are so much options here, it's very overwhelming. To come in and it's like, yeah, like you just to take that and be like, wow, they actually have everything,
Right.
everything you need and more.
And more.
So you mentioned you loved America. You love America. I could tell you're a patriot. Like, my dude, about what you just said is that's the medicine that I think a lot of Americans need in order to understand how beautiful and how amazing this country
great
is.
country.
I mean, the things that this country did after World War II in order to recuperate the world, to help the world around, turning back to Germany and investing in them so that they can actually have something to live off of. There are so many American values that we can take off. Obviously, who has a perfect nation? There's nothing perfect. I mean, there's a lot of bloodshed.
Oh, yeah.
But the division that is in this country is it's so weird to me because I'm like, how? This is the greatest nation, and it's because of our own freedoms
Absolutely.
that we have allowed some of this, negativities, let's say the devil to enter our own society and has turned some of our own people, some of our own kids against us.
Absolutely.
I think the medicine for a lot of that would be something like, those mission trips. And you can't really get to doing stuff like that unless you're involved in a church, unless you have faith and unless you believe. And it's a whole circle, of well, if you don't have faith and you don't believe and you're criticizing how, bad this country is, I get it. I understand why you're criticizing this country. But you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing
Right,
anyways.
right.
Like, how can you criticize the United States if you haven't been outside of it?
That's right.
That is not something that you should do. Like,
And you exactly what you said. And, I've been to Cuba, like we said,
Right.
right? And honestly, I've told this to hundreds of people, with what's going on and the direction that, some people want to push this country. And I'm like, I've been to Cuba. I didn't live there, but I know a lot of people that have lived there, like yourself. But just visiting it, and knowing the things that they have there that are free,
yeah,
aren't really free.
they're not.
They're not free. And talking to people when I'm down there,
And besides free, they're also not good.
I know,
Like healthcare.
I know.
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
free.
I saw the lines at
There's mold in every
oh,
hospital. There's water leaks. The buildings are falling apart. It's misery. It's what it is.
It is. One thing I learned when I was down there, and you probably could attest to this, was one thing that they've always made super affordable or almost free was entertainment. It's like everyone always say, like the baseball games, to go watch a baseball game. And we see that, and I would say it's almost like a smoke and mirrors, right? And we'd see that a lot in America. Is we try to mask what's really going on and hide it by getting people caught up in the smoke and mirrors of sports or entertainment or whatever, instead of really realizing that hey, there are some issues, right? We're not a perfect country,
Right.
but there's a lot of really great things about America, and there's some freedoms that we cannot take for granted that we have here, that you can truly make some decisions, and you can choose if you want to send your kids to public school or private school or homeschool, or you can choose who your doctor is.
Yeah.
I mean, those are huge. I mean, and that's just a couple of small examples of some freedoms. Or you can choose to own a gun, or you can choose to not own a gun. You can live in a state that allows you to own a gun, or a state that has stricter gun laws.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about having 50 individual states
Yeah.
that all are a little bit different, and all have their pros and all have their cons. None of them are perfect by any means. And I mean, it's amazing. I love history. I love the following politics, the political system, and we're not perfect by any means, but our system of checks and balances has proven to be very reliable, even though there's corruption. But we talk about our corruption, right? But you look compared to some countries.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
man,
not that bad.
Yeah, our corruption's nothing compared to some countries, right? So, but we could get there if we don't.
I think we're already in a pretty bad shape.
Oh, we are.
It takes time to really see the results of it. But I mean, it's to our faces, in my opinion. So before we get into that conversation, because I would like to get a little bit into that. So how did you do a mission trip to Cuba? Because I've been wanting to do something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I love to go anywhere in the world. My wife tells me, well, why Cuba? Why can't you just help anywhere? And I would. I would. But I know that God has been removed from Cuba. Like, I know that they have tried. In terms of communism, they have tried to remove any type of spiritual beliefs in terms of, you know, what God is, or, you know, it's all about communism. Let's erase history. Let's just implement the history that we believe is right, and let's teach the kids this, and it's indoctrination. So how do you even, you know, how do you become able to do that? And were you able to make the donations or the things that were you able to actually help in ways where the government was not on your way? How did that go?
Yes, that part is actually was a little tough, right? You had to be very, very careful on with some of the donations and stuff. And I didn't realize that until I got down there. You know, I thought, hey, we could just, you know, hey, give them some money and let them buy this building or whatever, and like that's definitely not how it works. But going back to how did I get there? So for many years we were members. We go to Grace Family Church now, and we love it. Like I said, lots of campuses, and we feel very connected there. But for many years, we were at Idlewild Baptist Church, which is in the Lutz area. Another great church. We're really connected in there. And like Grace, Idlewild, like other churches, has a really strong international missions group where they do a lot of international trips. And a lot of the places they decided to go were things that were on the heart of maybe someone that was on the board there, or maybe, you know, again, maybe it was one of the members of the church. And there was a group that decided, we want to start doing mission trips to Cuba. And so they started doing multiple mission trips a year. Some were more around building, some were more around evangelism. And I got to experience both. I went on both types of trips down there. One that was geared more towards where I had to go preach a sermon, which I was like sweating. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not a preacher. But, you know, man, God's in control. God prepared it, and it was the message that needed to be shared was shared. You know, but it was amazing. And I mean, Idlewild, you know, missions department, I think is just amazing. I mean, the missions trips that they've opened up for people to go and even be able to help. I've been fortunate enough to be able to afford to go on my own, but I always felt like they didn't let money necessarily be the thing that was going to stop someone from going to do good. There was people that would step up and help cover the cost for someone to go, right? Because these, you know, again, some people have time, right? Yeah. Some people have money, right? Sometimes it's easier for me to stroke a check than it is to block off a couple days, right? To give to missions. But I felt like, you know, God has called me to step away every now and then. I need to basically pause what's going on here, and I need to maybe hit a reset button and go do something somewhere else. And I've been, you know, every one of them, you know, I loved all the places that I've been.
What parts of Cuba you went to?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Now, if you'd asked, I have it all written.
Do you remember if it was the capital, like in Havana, or outside?
We outside of Havana. So we get into small towns outside of Havana, several hours outside of Havana, very, very small. Again, like what was so wild, especially the first time going there, it was like stepping back in time.
Yeah.
It was just mind-blowing. So like our last night, we'd come into Havana and then fly out the next day, which is a whole nother story of their whole system there of, everyone's employed, right? But it's kind of wild, going through the airport, like 8 different people check my ticket because they all have to have a job, right? It was like I went from 40 feet and 8 people checked my ticket in line. I'm like, nothing could have changed in the last 40 feet.
Right.
But I mean, the people were so nice. They were so nice. They but
once you get past the airport.
Yeah, absolutely. But what was wild though is one of the people down there, one of our translators, in his mind, he was really praying for America. He's like, I've heard how horrible it is in America. Wow. And he's like, your health care system. He's like, you have to pay for health insurance. We have free health insurance here. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is propaganda or whatever, but like that they think, oh, theirs is free, we have to pay, right? And I'm like, well, yes, we do have to pay,
but we have the money
but
to pay.
But we have the money to pay, and you can choose your doctor, you can choose your surgery, and we're not waiting months to maybe see a doctor or a specialist or something along those lines.
And there is help for the people that can't pay, right? I mean, even
100%,
immigrants
100%.
that are coming in from other countries are getting help.
Of course,
from the system.
we're not. I mean, we're not going to let someone just die because they don't have the money. I mean, by no means. And doctors take oaths on that. They're there to serve, right? Yeah. But look, our system there, again, flawed and crumbling in a lot of ways. But the foundation of our system has been set up really good. Yeah.
You have an emergency in the United States where you walk right into an emergency room, they will take care of you.
Absolutely.
I thought it was more of, well, you don't have insurance, so we can't take care of you. And that's not the case at all.
No, not at all.
I mean, I got this cut in my eye right here. Got hit in a bar fight one time. Walked right in there. They glued it all up and nothing and everything. And, they asked me for my insurance information. I'm like, I don't got no insurance. That's my words. I don't have insurance. And learn to get insurance, especially health insurance. It's so important in this country. Health insurance is should be a priority for a lot of us. And growing up, I'm like, nah, we don't need that, or we don't need until then you start having health issues. And come on, how wild do you have to be to not want to have health insurance?
And no one wants to talk health insurance in this country. Talk about, I mean, it's a rough subject. I mean, too.
But in Cuba, you got free health, right? Free. But then you go to the hospital and they don't have gauges. They don't have scissors to cut. They don't have tape. They don't have any of the medical necessities that a doctor needs to truly take care of you. They don't have the place for you to stay. They don't have AC. I mean, the operation rooms are disgusting.
Yeah.
The best hospital, it's basically secluded for the ones that govern. They're secluded for the Fidel family. They're the places that have the best stuff is for the people that are in charge. Outside of that, you can't get it. And then the other thing about Cuba that people, may not understand, we get treated as traitors once we leave Cuba. So once you decide to leave Cuba, you're no longer Cuban. They just automatically treat you like you're not a patriot anymore. You're not part of us. They call us worms because you pack a bag and the bag it looks like a worm because it's a packed bag as you're leaving. So, they call you worms. And back, when my mom got the notice that she was coming to the United States, you have to be quiet about it because if people find out, some family members are, you're going to the United States, but if it gets out there, they're throwing eggs at your house. They're embarrassing you. They're attacking some of your family members, especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That was a big deal. You could not go against communism. Think about this. For years, Fidel and the communist regime just blamed the United States for everything bad that has ever happened in Cuba. Absolutely everything is the United States' fault. The fact that we don't have food, the fact that, think about this. We have a country that you throw a seed on the floor and a banana tree grows. We can make money in so many different ways. We don't need that much of other countries. We could be poor, but we don't need to be hungry.
Right.
There are so many resources for us to grow our own food. We don't Cubans should not be starving.
That's correct.
Now, outside of that, I understand, gas prices and all that stuff. Not everybody has a car. there's cars in Cuba that have a fork inside of it and they make it work. I get that, and Cubans will, you give them a little bit of an angle, they'll take it. It's amazing. But we're considered traitors. When we go back to Cuba, after being here, there's a big divide between us because now the Cubans that have left the Cuban regime, now they're Cuban exiles. And if you decide to go back, now you're a traitor to them. So a lot of Cubans are in the middle between, man, like, I don't want to piss off, my friends that think this way, but I do miss my country. I mean, I'm one of those. I'd die in Cuba if I get the chance. I love my country. I will give everything that I have in this country to die over there in terms of like my culture and where I'm from. Like, I feel really strong about that, right?
Right, yeah.
Not saying anything bad about it. This is the greatest country. I'm so thankful for this country and everything. But when it comes to Cuba, I feel like I got ripped from a place that is mine. And, and the Bible teaches us to understand that we're exiles in this whole world.
Absolutely,
right?
we are, yeah.
So I've learned so much about that because it really speaks to that belief that I have about going back one day once we're free and having a house there and enjoying my country and maybe getting on a boat and driving all the way to Miami and back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just dreams that I have in terms of like how amazing it would be, right? But there's so much divide. And how did the divide happen? What Americans should know is that it started with the government completely dividing us. It started with Castro saying, oh, you don't like my politics? You don't like my decision making? Well, you can go. We don't need you. We don't want you. You and all the criminals in jail can all go to the United States. And that's how they first opened Mariel and released a bunch of people, mix of people, kind of like what Venezuela's doing right now, which, a lot of people are coming through the border that are, looking for jobs and are good people. But there's a lot of criminals and a lot of gang members coming through that. It's a danger to the United States.
A lot of people don't realize that
it's crazy, man.
It's not, the media for the most part will just make it like it's women and children coming through, right?
Right.
And look, I mean, obviously, look, we're all immigrants to this country unless you're a Native American at one point.
That's right.
And the beautiful thing about America is of that we have people that have come from all over the world here. But the majority of people have come here through the proper channels, right? There should always be a way to come to this country properly. And it shouldn't take years to do it either. There should be a proper way for the right people that want to come here and work and make this country better. They should be able to come here. But just coming through, with just walking across the border it's always absurd to me.
The problem with that is that there is a way and it works. I know India has a great system. I know Japan. I know a bunch of countries have a great system of how to get to the United States and how to make it work, especially if you go through an educational type part or a job situation. But with communist countries, it's different because there is no system. They want to hold you there. They want to keep you captive there, and they want you to think and feel like them. And if you don't, then you're a traitor, and that's when you can kind of like, get off or branch off. But the only way to truly get here is, by walking in here or crossing, the 90-mile stretch that you have to do where over 250,000 Cubans have died at.
Yeah.
So that's the part, right? Nothing is perfect. We can't get nothing perfect. But what I do know is that right now, at this very moment, we're witnessing something crazy in this country, and it's hard, man, because it's again I'm seeing the same divide that Cuba has already made, and our divide is 65 years. The division in this country has started maybe since the Obama years. I would agree.
Yeah, I would say that.
Some people that love Obama say no, it was with Trump. But people that were together after 9/11 and then Obama got chosen and then Obama betrayed a lot of the Christian community and some other people, the divide started happening through Obama, in my opinion. And it's funny because they attack massive deportations as, Trump speaks about massive deportation. And I look at it in multiple ways. One, Trump wants to send a message out there that the border will be closed. And I agree with that message because if you're like Biden and you're like, well, anybody can come in, then we're going to get all sorts of people.
Oh, yeah, we are.
So I like the idea of borders, we are going to mass deportate, or at least I'm saying it. But I'm looking at the Spanish media. I'm looking at Univision and Telemundo, which is the same propaganda. They get paid by the same donors of the same, news people that we see, CNN, NBC, and it's all the same BS. I've already done my research on this, right? Same donors. So what I'm seeing on the Spanish media is, for the first time, I see somebody that is with Trump arguing against somebody that isn't. And what they're attacking Trump on are things like the fact that he wants to do mass deportation, for example. Don't worry about those.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
But mass deportation, for example. All right, so Trump ran on mass deportation in 2016. He did do mass deportation starting with criminals. That's big. That's a big deal. Like, we need to get that out of here. And I know for a fact, because it's already happened. He already ran for 4 years, that if you're a good worker and you're actually providing for this country, the mass deportation message is more of a message to scare people to not even come here and do what they need to do in their country.
100%.
So when I see that from the Spanish side, but they don't attack at all the criminals that are coming in. They don't attack any of the issues that are happening in Colorado right now or anything. It's just complete bias, against them. So I get that. The problem to me is that I got to look at myself in the mirror, because I love Trump. I really feel like he's the right candidate, regardless of how much he messes up sometimes when he talks, right? Like in the Kamala Harris situation, he didn't talk good enough or whatever,
right.
But I know that as a business, and that's what America is. America is a big business.
We are.
Right? So as a businessman, he will perform, and he will do a good job, at least in my opinion. So you got a bunch of employees in your company.
Yeah.
So let me put that picture up again. And here's my question for you.
Yeah.
This one right here. Okay, so you got all of these employees, and I've asked this to some other people before. Would you say that all your employees are Trump supporters?
No.
Or do you have all right, so
No,
how do you
not.
handle that? Do you even talk politics at all with your employees, or would you rather stay out of that conversation?
Oh, politics naturally come up sometimes, for sure. But I always say I can respect someone having a different opinion as long as you can have a reason why you feel that way. You might feel completely different than I do about the border or abortion or the war in Ukraine, but as long as you can back it up, I can respect that. We don't have to agree. What I don't like is when people want to back a candidate one way or the other because they're on just a political party, or because they're a male or female or black or white. I could care less about any of that.
Yeah.
And that's absurd to me, because imagine my office. Imagine if I ran my business and I only was going to look for someone. I said, I only want to hire a female, and they have to be a minority. That doesn't fly.
Right.
It shouldn't fly. You should always be looking for the best candidate. I've never
the best person for the
best
position.
person for the position.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it as a male, female, black, white, Hispanic. As honestly, I've taught our kids we're all just different shades, right? None of that matters. It doesn't matter at all. And when I talk about, say, Trump and Kamala and stuff, if you support Kamala, that's great. I don't believe that she's the right candidate. But it has nothing to do with that she's a woman, because I think there's a lot of women that would make an amazing president. Amazing. But when someone says, "Oh, it'd be so great to have the first female in the White House," I'm like, "Well, that's not a reason we should have someone there." That's my opinion, that we should have someone there. I want the person that is best qualified.
Right.
And of the two, I think from the track record, Trump drives me nuts, right? Like, I can't stand the tweets. I can't stand some of the things he says, the kind of immature in a lot of ways. I don't have to agree with him on those things. I don't have to be buddies with him. I'm never going to probably meet him.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not, but if I just look at the main policies that he has done in the past, I see how he's run his business, and that he's a workaholic, I think that's the person that we need. Again, that's my opinion. When you look, Joe Biden, right? How much vacation time he's taken.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. I feel bad for him, honestly, right now.
I do too.
I really, really feel bad. I think he was slighted in a lot of ways, but I mean, he's taken more vacation, in these 4 years than the average American takes in their whole life.
Yeah.
Right. And where Trump, good or bad, has always been a workaholic.
Yeah.
The guy is a workaholic. And I think right now we need a workaholic. We have a lot of stuff we need to fix in this country. I just think of having between the two, again, that's for me. Again, I'm not necessarily saying I agree. I like everything that Trump stands for or he says, but when it comes to his policies, I think they align with protecting this country, which I think we need to do. We need to start putting this country first. Yeah. Again, I think it's and keeping jobs here. I think that's critically important. So, but again, some of my employees might feel the opposite, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I can respect them for their opinion, and they know their job has nothing to do with that. But I know there's a lot that do. Just same thing with Christians, right? I have a lot of employees that are very strong Christians. But am I only going to hire a Christian? I mean, first of all, I don't even know that, right? When I'm in the interview process. But it's really nice to see that I do have a lot, and I also have some that have become Christians, right, over time. So, I mean, it's like being a friend. I can't only be a friend with someone of a Christian because I'm supposed to hopefully build a relationship with people that are not Christians, and hopefully they can see by the way I live my life. Maybe they see something and I can plant some seeds to maybe where they can actually learn about Jesus, and maybe it will have an impact in their life for a positive, right? So
Christian and Christian.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the right choice for Christians will be Trump?
I do. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do. I mean, just from the fact of what most Christians would agree on, sanctity of life, right? 4 of the 5 of my children are adopted. Okay, so obviously it's an important thing. And again, there's always exceptions to the rule.
Right.
I mean, and that's what the media, and even the candidates will talk about the person that was raped or this or that. No one's talking about that one person. Yeah, absolutely, we completely understand there are situations, but you know what? I mean, the majority of people, like, you don't want to get pregnant. There's a real easy way to solve that. I mean, there is. That's what we kind of teach our kids too. Is there's an easy way to not get pregnant before marriage. Yeah. And that's what the Bible does teach us. Not saying that that's an easy thing to do by any means, right? And but so yes, I do believe that you have to put aside some of your feelings. I've always felt like people they're not voting for Kamala. They're voting against Trump because they don't like him. He's such his personality, you either like him or you hate him in a lot of cases. And so they're voting against him. And I'm like, you got to put some of those things aside. And I really do like the people that he's seen align with him. I think obviously from Kennedy, look, let's face it. I mean, we have a serious problem in this country when it comes to our food. Yeah. I mean, listen, my youngest daughter, Hannah, she has an autoimmune disorder, several autoimmune disorders, but one of them being juvenile arthritis. But also she is a gluten allergy, pretty bad gluten allergy. Crazy. We went to Europe for several weeks this past year. And in Europe, all throughout Europe, we were there for over 2 weeks. She had gluten, especially in Italy. I'm Italian, everything. We're in Italy. She had gluten every single day. Never had an issue. Wow. No issue over there. Here, she has any gluten, she gets migraines, stomach. I mean, it's really, really bad. Yeah. So it's just amazing. There's a lot of things in our foods. I mean, you can see it over there. You buy candy over there, right? Like, even like say a Skittle, and it doesn't have all the food dyes and stuff that we have here. There's cereal, all those things. There's so many different things, and that he cares enough that he wants to do that. I love that. Or someone like Elon, right? Who the guy don't need to do anything. The guy's going to be the first trillionaire, right? Yeah. But providing this internet for all these people from the storm right now, and wanting to help help, Trump in the organization of the government to get rid of some of our, otherwise say fat, right? Of our of our government.
We gotta cut that fat.
Yeah, we need to, right? There's a lot of wasted money that goes, and I understand we have to help our allies financially, but like let's face it, like we got money that goes to a lot of different countries right now, and we're barely going to help. We barely help the people in Hawaii, right? Yeah. We barely going to help the people, in North Carolina and Tennessee and stuff from the storm. Or we're going to talk to FEMA. Go back to insurance. That FEMA's in trouble financially. Well, let's just not give one stimulus payment to Ukraine, and you could fund the entire FEMA program. Wow. I mean, so like. It's unbelievable, like of where we spend. Again, I don't know the details of why we do everything we do overseas, and we probably don't want to ever know some of that stuff.
But we do know that under Trump there was no wars.
There was no wars. Exactly right. 100% agree.
I mean, and everybody thought, including myself, that he was going to start World War III.
Oh, 100%.
I thought he was going to destroy the United States.
I did too. I mean, he obviously it was.
But it made sense. Somebody tough, somebody that means business. In an area where you're negotiating versus terrorists, where you're negotiating versus other leaders around the world, like we don't need them to like us. We need them to respect us. Yeah. We need them to be afraid sometimes of us. If they're evil, I'd rather have somebody evil to be afraid of us than to have them, feel like we're weak.
That's right, and run all over you. Right. And that's the thing with him. I think from his whole life, he's such a good negotiator, right? I mean, from his book, The Art of the Deal, right? Like, which I'd read that way before, many, many, many years ago. But he's always been a negotiator, right? And people want to hate on him for being, a billionaire, right? Yeah. And I always laugh at that we hate on someone that they're a billionaire, but yet, let's face it, most Americans want to be a billionaire. If not, why do so many people play the Powerball?
Right.
When the Powerball gets up there, why does everyone go out there? They just don't want to work for it. But we don't hate on our pro athletes that are worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, look, he didn't. I don't understand why he wants to be in politics. I personally have always felt like I
understand why.
Well, I know. I think he cares about this country.
Yeah.
I think he part of it. My personal is I think he has a big ego, which is not a bad thing. That a lot of big successful business people are like that. That he believes he's the best for this country right now, and he don't care about the money. He's got more money than he's ever going to need. So
he's donating his paycheck.
He's donating his paycheck. He's donating money to the people that need it right now. But look at his net worth. What happened to his net worth? He's the only president in modern history that got out of White House worth less. Yeah. I mean, why are we in politics here? How can you be in this, job that you're giving your whole life to in civil service, and you retire and you're worth tens of millions of dollars? Yeah. Like I've always thought that was kind of fishy, right? Like you've never had a real job in your life. You now retire, and now all of a sudden you've got mansions all over the place. And the ironic part of all that is. And this is on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, what do they all have in common? They typically all have walls around their homes and gates. Yeah. They protect their own homes, but a lot of these same people don't want to then protect our own borders. I always thought that was kind of ironic.
Yeah. Like the Democrat convention.
Yeah.
They covered it completely.
They covered it completely. They hired more police officers.
You saw the interview of the guy that was trying to bring in a Venezuelan immigrant?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
I mean, come on now. But yet we're the ones who wanted to, they wanted to defund the police, but then they're going to ask the police to protect them, and, another thing I'll say on that too, which is, I thought it's kind of ironic is, it came out, I think today, with maybe more allegations against Trump with the January 6th, right? And, I'm tired of hearing about this whole January 6th thing. And what's kind of crazy about it though is, they want to go after him so much, which again, it's a witch hunt, and I think a lot of people do see through it. But how come no one's ever went after the people that supported all the riots that burnt down our cities?
Right.
I mean, barely anyone ever got prosecuted. Right. But we had people in government to just sit back and let them burn the cities down, let them injure police officers. And we did nothing about it, but we don't go after them.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden we want to go after Trump for a, supposedly an insurrection against this country. Well, what do you think was happening all over, paying people to come in and put masks on and burn our cities down?
Yeah.
So it's one
a
of these
battle
things
between good versus evil,
it is.
right?
It is.
It's a big deal going on right now, and that's why I think that Trump is the right candidate to win it. I am scared. I'll tell you that. I feel like this country's at a place that I've never seen it before. I've been here for 25 years now, since I was 10 years old, and man, it's scary.
It is.
Now, Gary, I feel like you're a person that is not afraid to speak your heart and what you think. Have you been this way, or like for example, this Trump questions? I could see somebody in here that would say, "I'd rather not talk about that." Have you always been like this, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not afraid to share my opinion. You can take it or leave it. I hope people can respect. These are my own personal views, right? I don't have to agree with you. But here's the thing. I've always, even in my own business, I'm going to love on every one of my clients.
Yeah.
Right? They can have completely different views. They can have a different view on marriage, on anything. That means that I'm going to love on them. I care about, and they know I genuinely care about them because I care about humanity. I care about them as a person. I genuinely do, and I can respect that they have different views than I have different views. And I've always taken it to like, I can't stand mint chocolate chip ice cream. I mean, to me, I honestly have kind of a gag reflex with it. Everyone in my family loves mint chocolate chip ice cream except for me. When they have it, I'm like, that's like, it's disgusting. Like, I can't believe you're going to eat that. But I still let them have it, and I can respect that they like it. You go ahead and eat it, but they don't try to force mint chocolate chip ice cream on me. Right? I'm not going to force someone to change their views or change their beliefs. I don't believe, even in my Christian faith, that the whole "you're going to hell," you repent. I don't believe that works for most people.
Yeah, it never worked for me.
It never worked for me.
It pushed me away.
Right. And I view the same thing in my political views. I don't think me ramming something down and telling someone you're wrong is going, they're not going to wake up one day and say, you know what? Gary was right.
Yeah.
All those times he just told me I was wrong. No, if anything, I want to just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And maybe a light bulb goes off. And maybe say, gosh, I never thought of it that way. Or maybe it's, all I've ever done is watch mainstream media.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm getting, but I've never really researched it myself. I'm sure you know Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
I love Charlie Kirk. I love that he's obviously highly educated, but he just will have a dialogue with someone. And at the end, he will respect that they have a different opinion.
Yeah.
But he's going to be real clear and tell you the facts of why he believes this is what he believes.
Right.
And I love the way he handles that. He doesn't belittle people. He doesn't hate them. But unfortunately, lots of times on the extreme other side, there's less tolerance for that.
Yeah.
If you don't agree, they want to cancel you.
Yeah.
They want to find things and hurt you. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree that anyone should be canceled because of their view that's not hurting someone. I don't think someone on either side should be canceled for their own personal view. I can respect their view. I believe my view is correct, which I should. I believe it's grounded in not what is best for me. I believe it is grounded in what is best for the country. Because again, I have 5 kids.
Yeah.
I want this country to stay the greatest country in the world for not just my kids, but my grandkids and my great grandkids.
Yeah.
I mean, I dream of a great future, Lord willing, if God blesses me with a lot of years, where I can be sitting with my great grandkids in this great country, and they still have the freedoms that we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to draft.
No.
Especially with my kids.
No.
Like if they want to join and serve, that's one thing.
100%.
Draft.
Yeah. No, we don't want to. We don't want to get back to that. I mean, there's enough people that if it's done right are willing to go serve
Absolutely.
for this country. And I have the highest, utmost respect for all of our military branches
Absolutely.
and our first responders, our firefighters, and our police officers. I believe they're true patriots.
Yeah.
Right? And you put your life on the line daily for this country. You care about this country greatly. They're not in it for the money. In any one of those fields, they're definitely not in it for the money. But I don't want to force someone to go do that. Nor do I really feel like I want someone protecting our country that is forced to go in. We want people that want to be there because they believe what we believe in the protecting the values, the principles, and the freedoms of this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gary, thank you so much.
Yeah.
My man, you are I see you as a mentor. I just want you to know that. From every conversation that I have with you, I've learned something valuable. Thank you for pouring into my life and the things that you've already done. And I can see you doing, even though you've already done so many amazing things, I can see you growing even more. And I love that you keep on, trying to make things better around you, around our country, around the world. So I just want to make sure that you know that from my side, man, I see you as an amazing human being, and there's not a lot of men that I can say that about.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you coming on this podcast and talking to me.
I appreciate you as well, man.
My studio is open to you whenever you need it. So hope to see you back sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for being here, man.
God
appreciate
bless.
it. God bless you, everybody. You already know it. Gary, hey, is it Cucchi?
Cucchi.
Cucchi?
So I will tell you. It's Cucchi, which is cookie in Italian. So in Italy, it's Cucci. When we came to America, they added the H in there. So, but in Italian, it's cookie. So my kids love that because it's like a cookie, and they actually think that's funny. The kids think cookie's funny. I'm like, actually, Cucci's way funnier than cookies.
Yeah.
So, but think of Gucci, but with a C. So Cucci instead of Gucci.
Well, I'm glad I asked because I was about to burst you right now.
No, man, that you wouldn't be the first, and you certainly won't be the last.
All right, everybody. See you on the next one. Take care. Hey, guys, thank you so much for watching this whole episode. It really means a lot to me. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe, share this video with your friends and family members so that you can help me grow. I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next episode of We the People podcast. Take care.